Okay, here's the situation. The Currys are coming. My name is LaWaun Curry,
And I'm Tara Curry.
and this is part three
Yes.
of you're not only married for the person, you're also married for their, and in this case, it's living lifestyle. Um, you want to explain what,
Yes.
at least your definition of what
Sure, sure.
living lifestyle
I'd like to do that.
is?
So we're talking in part three. You didn't just marry their strengths. You married their, and we've done part one and part two. Today is their living lifestyle. And so LaWaun and I did not live together before we got married. We did not go cohabitate at all. We dated, set a date, got married, and then we moved in together. We blended our lives. And so we had never, we didn't know what it was like to live together. We didn't know what it was like to spend night and day with each other all the time in the same house, in the same bedroom. And so there was a lot of growing pains, yeah?
Yeah.
And a lot of learning that had to take place for us. And we're still learning. We're still
Absolutely.
learning each other and still finding out new things about each other.
But I want to just make sure everyone knows it's like among all the glitz and glamour of getting married, like this is this is the back door, of the wonderful house that you have that for some reason doesn't open all the time when you want it to open. This is the little area of the house where there's a crickety crack and no one knows it but you guys. These are sometimes the most important parts about being married. Like these, what she's talking about as far as growing pains were so unexpected for us because we were settling in to each other, and I can call that a settling into our living lifestyle, if you will.
Can I also say something?
Absolutely.
And you don't know what you don't know. You don't know that you're not going to like something. You don't know that they're going to see this part of you until you're together all the time. And so you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes you may even be even a little embarrassed to find out that there are parts of you that you didn't even want others to know about. And now this person knows this about you. They're learning and seeing your quirks, your flaws, your, just a little, what's the word? There's a word that I can't think of right now. But they're all the little inner parts of you. This other person
And the consistencies.
Yeah. Yeah. They're learning and seeing all this play out right in front of you. And you kind of just, you got to let it happen.
So I'm gonna give the men a good example. I think some people can relate with this, and this happens to do with sports. You got my mind clicking, and it's good because before I got married, a Sunday for me during football season looked very different.
And say why it looked different.
It looked different because it had to be different. It looked different because I was married. It looked different because of what my wife saw during the first football season.
Telling you the whole
during
story.
the first football season of us being married. Me jumping around, yelling, even cursing or swearing.
And his mood changed if they didn't win.
Oh yeah,
he would be moody the rest of the night.
Big
like
New
what?
England fan, so you would take it personally, you would take it inwardly. You almost wanted to throw stuff, but you couldn't. You couldn't. You know what I mean? So, so if you're used to, say, for example, your man cave, for some of you folks, and you're used to your little bare area for a lot of men in terms of watching their sports. Some folks go out and watch it in restaurants and in bars or what have you. But for some guys, that's a real intricate moment to have change all of a sudden when you're living with someone. So how do you balance that? I know there are maybe some relationships where if it's sports time, the women might go out and do something or cook or sometimes be a part of the whole, event. So, or the guy may have to separate himself, maybe go with some friends or start going to a bar. Or in my situation, I had to have a little mix of both to appease my own self, right? To make myself happy during football season.
I had to learn to not. I used to be bothered that he would take up the whole living room, and that was his space, and I couldn't watch the TV because it was already occupied. This couch already occupied, and so I had to find somewhere else in the house and just be like, okay. At first, it would annoy me, or I would get a little, I would get upset. But then I had to learn that's his thing, and I just need to go find somewhere else in the house to be.
And what was interesting is that, now we see that was a frustrating part about it is, when I say the unexpected, is that we never talked about it.
Mm-mm.
We just kind of went along with it and figured it, and just kind of, as the pattern continued, we worked with whatever we could during the situation to make sure that, each one of us was in a workable state.
Marriage is picking and choosing your battles.
So,
right? What hill do you want to die on? Which one is it worth? What argument is it worth to be on top of the hill rah, rah, rah? Right? Which one?
So you marry your living lifestyle. Let me put a little emphasis on this as well, because I happen to teach co-parenting, and that has to do, one big thing that has to do with is duties, right? So are you a laundry person? Are you a dish washing person? Are you a
dusting person, vacuuming person?
Are you a putter-upper, right? Because there's some people that are putter-uppers, right? Someone if you agree to do it, can someone put the dishes up or dry them? Who knows? Whatever the situation is, what are your duties that you enjoy? This is a part of your, say, if you had a home activity, this would be it. Talk about, or at least write down the 5 duties you enjoy. And write down the 5 duties that you don't enjoy about being in your role. Because undoubtedly there may be some things that you don't enjoy, but you should be able to at least differentiate them amongst the two. Maybe you can balance them out. She knows that, or at least I know that she doesn't like doing dishes that much. So you know what? I can pick up the slack on that easily. But it's good that we talk about it. So that, guess what? We continue to win and put ourselves in winning situations. So that's the big defeat here. Can you look past some of your living situations, some of your living lifestyles, balance them out, work with each other to keep yourself in a win-win?
So we did not talk about that kind of stuff. Like when we first moved in, who's going to do dishes? Who's going to wash clothes? Is there going to be a certain day that we clean the house, right? Who's doing food shopping, right? We didn't talk about that. And so we're still moving through that, honestly. Figuring out, so we just kind of do it when it's needed and it happens. But to have a real conversation about it, so we both kind of understand each other and have some agreement around, you should do that. And because I also think that communication is going to help to filter out any arguments that could happen. Mm-hmm. It's going to help you in your feelings, because sometimes we get caught up in our feelings about expecting somebody to do something, and then when they didn't do it, we're upset with them, but they didn't know that they were expected to do it. So having those kind of conversations is going to help with communication.
There are some people who like shopping for clothes that don't like shopping for food. You don't know that unless you ask. Right. We talk about in this particular season being intentional about everything that you're trying to do, and sometimes it may sound like unnecessary conversation now that I think about it, but these are the little important conversations that help out in the long term, right? Help out, especially if you're cohabitating, if you're blending your living lifestyles, because no one wants to feel like they're being over blended. Right? That causes frustration, anxiety, and depression. It's
causing conflict
and you can burst out and take it out on the person that you're closest to.
Yeah.
Your loved one.
I think also if you're like both of us, we were very single, right? For a certain amount of time.
We were living
This is
single.
This is my life. This is my life. So because we were single for a long period of time before we got together, we had already been set in our ways in certain things. And so you don't just marry the good, strong, loving parts of your partner, but you marry like who they were before this. Before you, they had their own, right? And so they lived a certain way. They were comfortable with their house being a certain way. They fell asleep when they wanted or had a bedtime. Or one thing that really stood out to us is that, and I think we've talked about it before, but we had to be very intentional about not becoming roommates, right? Because our living lifestyle before this, we were very comfortable with our own company, right? So he could sit on the couch and watch TV or play video games all night if he wanted to. I could stay in the bedroom and be working and on the computer and studying and doing all the other hats that I wear, and I would probably fall asleep, and then he would come to bed when he was tired, and then we'd get up and start the same thing the next day. So we had to really, our lifestyles were very independent and by ourselves. And so we had to really learn how to blend that too. But have our own time when we needed it, but sometimes make time to be with each other as well.
So for example, folks today, I don't think we have very much pillow talk, for example, right? So just like dinner, like a lot of folks and families don't have dinner time. We should start really, and we do. I think we do a pretty good job of making sure that we have pillow talk, right? Making sure you have that kind of like, bounce off, that stress reliever, that transitional time, to be able to, digress in each other. And maybe it's scheduled, right? Maybe it's 10 minutes before someone unwinds. Maybe someone goes to bed, later than the other or earlier than the other. So you maybe have to just talk about those things, because those things are important amongst couples. It what makes you win. It instead of living even with someone, as the song goes, single. Here's the new song. Living to mingle. You gotta live to mingle. Live to blend. It's fun, right? Once again, write down. So here's your home activities. Just to write down those things. Maybe 5 things that you do, or 5 things that you like to do. Duties in your home.
I would do both. What you like to do and what you don't.
And what
like.
you don't like to do.
And then you should sit with each other and kind of go over those, and maybe you can come to some agreement about some of them and compromise and work together to make sure things are getting done, whether it's in the house or in the family or with the kids or, just your responsibilities.
Maybe no one likes to do food shopping. Oh, wow.
So we Instacart.
Oh, maybe I was thinking the same thing. So maybe some people do Instacart or something. Who knows? The technology's out there to help you guys blend and mend.
Yeah.
Hey, this is the curries, and it's hashtag curries are coming. And honey,
yes.
Did we? I just want to make sure that we touched on at
yes.
least this fold.
I think
but
we did.
We want to close. I know we do. We do want to close with something, but the hashtag curries are coming.
And we're coming for your marriage.
We're coming for your marriage.
We're coming for your parenting.
We're coming for your parenting.
Coming for your relationships.
We're coming for your relationship.
And we're coming for your soul care.
Soul care.
Right? Because we want to make sure God is the center of it all. And so we want to end this off. I had something that I wrote that I want to read to you as a marriage reminder that we both want to grow. So being rigid and unwilling to face our shortcomings, that's a barrier. So if your marriage is important to you, I want you to normalize gaining healthy tools and skills in tackling the challenges head on. Right? Make sure that you are making time to work these things out, because if you don't, these little foxes, scripture calls it, right? These little foxes will spoil the vine, right? These little foxes, these little things that you're not talking about are going to get in the way, and they're going to become bigger problems. What do you always talk about? Isn't it like the ripple?
The ripple in the water.
Right? It's go ahead.
The pebble that drops. Things can just spread out and have an effect on things that you don't want those necessary outcomes. And here's a good mind piece for you. If you work to blend, things are easy to mend. So continue to work on each other. Continue to work on yourself. This is for the betterment of all of us. so that we can be closer to what the Lord has presented for us on this earth.
Stay in the sweet spot.
And to stay in the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Take care of yourselves.
Peace.
Peace.